Learn how to use the JSON Stringify method to handle Boolean values, converting them into a standard true or false text string. In this example, we want to look at how you can convert Booleans to JSON string using the JSON Stringify method. Just like the way you can use this method to handle numbers and objects, true or false values can also be converted into text string. Because in programming, we call true or false, we call them Boolean. And so when you need to send maybe a simple toggle switch setting, for example, maybe in your application, someone wants to toggle on a dark mode, or they want to toggle it off to a server, or you want to save it to your local storage, you use the JSON Stringify method to convert that active state position into a plain text string, true or false, so that it can be saved or shared easily. So let's look at an example that clearly demonstrates this. So let's move into the script part of our boilerplate code. And the first thing I want to do is that I want to add a variable. So let's add a variable, and let's use let this time around. And you can as well go with const. So let's call a new Boolean constructor. This time we want to set it as true, so that will be 1, because 0 will be false. So now that we have this, then let's make another variable and call it my JSON. And now let's pass what we have, that is our variable, into the JSON Stringify method in order to serialize it. And now once we do that, then let's just go ahead and display the result on the screen. And you can see this true. So if I change this to 0 now, if you want to check for false, just change this to 0. And you see false, because 0 represents false and 1 represents truth in programming. So what did we just do here? This example shows a Boolean value using a JavaScript approach. You can see this new Boolean value that takes 1 as argument, which evaluates to true. So it then passes this Boolean value into the JSON Stringify method, converting it into a plain text string, which is the true text that you can see here. Finally, it displays the results on the screen using the document.getElementById method. So what we basically have here is that this variable that we set with the new Boolean constructor is what creates a Boolean instance. In JavaScript, the number 1 is considered true, like I said. Passing 1 into that Boolean constructor creates an object representing the value true. And the const my JSON equals to JSON.stringify method is the serialization engine that takes the Boolean object, unwrap its cartridge value, and convert it into a clean unquoted JSON primitive text literal. You can see that this one is not also enclosed in double quotes like the previous text string value. And finally, we have this part that is printing what we have onto the screen. So just something to note about what we have here. Now, when this code uses the new Boolean constructor with 1 passed in directly to construct a Boolean object wrapper, this syntax is generally considered an older and unnecessarily complex way to write code. In modern JavaScript, you should just always use the clean primitive literal style directly. So you don't need the Boolean constructor, so you can just go ahead and select new Boolean equals to true. And you can see that nothing actually changes. The code still works just like the way it was with that older method. And if you want to check for false, just pass it in directly and you see that the code still works. And you can see that this is more legible and more better than the new Boolean constructor, where you have to color the constructor and then pass this thing. And so this method is considered old and unnecessary complex way of writing this code. So you can just use that shorter syntax in modern JavaScript, and whatever it is that you are trying to achieve will still work. You can see that with this, it's even more easier to change whether I want to change to false or change back to truth. Now, in both styles, whether the older syntax method or the new clean primitive literal style in modern JavaScript, both styles will output the exact same thing, true for true and false for false when passed through the JSON Stringify method. But using the literal, like I said, makes your code cleaner, faster, and much more easier to read. Now, let's look at key takeaways from this lesson. Number one, when a Boolean value is stringified, it converts directly into the lowercase text literal, either true or false, without being wrapped in extra quotation marks. Number two, because it doesn't have quotation mark around the word, JSON.parseTrue will correctly convert the string back into a real Boolean data type on the other side. So what am I basically saying is that if we comment this out, okay, let's say I have maybe let me make another variable and call it maybe result or whatever. And this time I then try to pass what I have. If I come back here to get the results, now this also will still output true. Now, what made this possible is because of the fact that it doesn't add quotation marks around the word. Assuming a quotation mark is added around what we have as the output, it will be impossible to use the parse method to convert it back into a Boolean value. But because it outputs it without the quotation marks around the word, so the JSON.parse method will correctly convert this string back right into a real Boolean data type on the other side. And lastly, standard program input like numbers can be used to generate Boolean state before saving them as configuration string. So these are the things that you should know about this example that we just demonstrated on the screen. So you can use JSON Stringify method in order to convert Booleans to JSON string, just as you can use this method for numbers, objects, and arrays in JavaScript.